Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvadidam Gaganasadasyam Tattvamasyaridasyam Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadi Sakshibhutam Bhavaditam Trigunanektam Sadgurum.
I've got a very basic question. It's about this topsy-turvy world we live in now. And for the spiritual aspirant, it's a question of faith. I mean, in your wonderful life, you had a lot of miracles and guidance which led you to aspire and lead us. But for ordinary people, it's very easy to lose faith in the spiritual journey. How do we traverse this path? Well, everything seems to be falling apart around us.
You all heard the question. Now, let me remind you, when you say ordinary folk like us, I'm also an ordinary folk. So just as you are, I am. I didn't fall from heaven. Born in a human womb, I'm lucky about it. Apart from that, yeah, you said I had some experiences, yes. And you also refer to faith, because we are in a topsy-turvy world from one point of view. There are others who think that those who pursue spiritual matters are topsy-turvy. There are two ways of looking at it. So, how do we have faith now? When you say faith, the word implies that you don't know about something, you want to know about something, and that you would give value to those who have had such experience. This is the meaning of faith in this context. I don't know, but I have seen a hypothesis. And I think that some others have had such experiences. And if I move forward, do what is necessary, perhaps I would reach that. I mean, in this context, that's faith. What I want to say is nothing can be proved unless you have a hypothesis. There's nothing wrong in having a hypothesis. You have in geometry, you have the Pythagoras theorem, which means that the square of the base and the square of the altitude together will give you the square of the hypotenuse. We don't know. It's a hypothesis. It's Pythagoras' hypothesis. Now, if I have to find it, if I have to have proof, don't I need to accept the hypothesis first, positively rather than negatively, instead of saying, I don't believe in this hypothesis, it's not going to work. So, that is a negative way of looking at it. However, if I say, maybe it's right, perhaps it is so, that's the positive attitude. You don't have to accept it. Suspend your judgment. Don't conclude fast. Just wait, be patient. And then say, oh, this is a hypothesis. And there have been rules and regulations on how to prove it. So when I prove it, then I discover it. If I don't find it, then I can abandon it, not before. So the attitude of inquiry should be that let me see, look, let me not reject it out of hand. Why? Because many hundreds of people have experienced such matters. If we look from 2000 years of these experiences, mystical experience, everybody can't be telling like that. There must be some truth to it. At least that much should be there. I think if that is there, then there is faith. More than sufficient faith. But what you should remember is then you have to follow the procedures required so that one day you might also experience what has been experienced. On this premise, on this path, I think we can go forward. And you said it's a topsy. I understand what you mean. When a spiritual aspirant, somebody who's looking for deeper meaning to life, has one perspective, and those who don't have another perspective. So, for us that looks like a topsy-turvy world. For them, we look like strange guys. So it works both ways. However, when you touch that, even a little bit of it, then you're assured beyond all doubt that you've touched something, a treasure. And then your only intention is to try and make others understand that this is so. There is no vested interest here. It's like you want to share. I had a lovely, what is that, chocolate that comes with Switzerland. Godiva? Yesterday somebody got 2 boxes, I didn't know what to do. Maybe you should distribute it. Eat that, and it's so nice, and you wonder why is everybody not eating it. You get what I'm trying to say. So that's why I'm here. There's no other interest. Sometimes you get frustrated because you've been trying and pushing, and then just rebounds and nobody is doing anything. You get sometimes disappointed. You should give up. I should give up. Keep doing. And also in this part about, well, I don't want to go to that extreme. The Gita, Krishna says to Arjuna, among millions of people, one gets an interest to go on this search. And among a million of those explorers, one probably finds the right direction. Very negative way of looking at it. One probably finds the direction, not my words. And among those who have found the right direction, among a million, one actually walks on the path. And among a million such, one reaches the goal. Now it's terrible. Which doesn't mean why it said this is because very often people start on the journey. I'm sure many of you have on the journey. But then when you face obstacles and when you find that it's so difficult and how to move on, then you lose interest. So this is said so that you should remember that it's like anything else, it requires a good deal of hard work. People wait for grace to come. I think sometimes waiting for grace is an excuse, but you don't want to do anything. So, now look, how hard we work to make money. How hard we work to get a promotion. How hard we work to acquire this girl who didn't even look at you. I'm just giving you examples. World, the topsy-turvy world. But when it comes to spiritual matters, we expect everything to happen like a shortcut. So therefore, I would say that you should spend much more energy than you would do for ordinary thing to actually make some progress in this path. Which doesn't mean that you should give up the world or go to the cave. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Look at me. Well, I did at some time go to a cave, but then periods of solitude are important. But you can find happiness in India, in the Himalayas, in what is this area? In UK, Uxbridge. You can find it in Buenos Aires, you don't have to shift. So, it's a mindset question. How do you tackle it? Okay, let me start with The Upanishads are my favorite subject, because the reason being that they go directly with no hanky-panky straight to what you want. And they don't take you to an emotional high from where you fall down flat. Take you quietly, little by little, into the understanding of what we are seeking, which is by. And of these, the most important are the 11 principal Upanishads, on which all the great teachers have written many number of commentaries. Both from the Advaita point of view, Dvaita point of view, Vishishta Advaita, different. But they are the core of the teachings that we have, at least in ancient India. So today I want to take up an Upanishad, part of the principal 11 Upanishads, which happens to be the shortest. There are Upanishads which have hundreds of slokas. Here is an Upanishad which had only 12. No more than 12. And in these 12 verses, what is said is not what you should do or what you should not do, or you should follow this, or you should stand on your head, or and so on. It doesn't say do's and don'ts. It looks at facts. And if you find the fact, then you would know what you should do to find the fact. So it goes directly into finding the fact. And without any more suspense, the name of this Upanishad is the Mandukya. Now, when you say Mandukya, in Sanskrit it's a very peculiar word. It means a frog. Manduk. Mandukya. Frog. So if you translate it, it will be the Frog Upanishad. And there is a lot of discussion on why it's called Mandukya. Because some people say, oh, there must have been a great rishi whose name was Mandukya. But is there a rishi called a frog rishi? The reason, there are a couple of reasons why, and it's an Upanishad which has been commented upon so much. 12 verses, here is the core, the cream. I'm not saying other Upanishads are not important. Why I want to do this is because I want to show you that 2000 years ago, people were seriously concerned with finding the truth. Not now, not just now. Before Einstein was trying to find the truth, we were already trying to find the truth in somebody. We didn't have the instruments, of course, but physical instruments, but the mind was there. Now why Mandukya? Why frog? It can't be that there is a rishi who looked like a frog. Well, one of the reasons is to show that when wisdom comes, don't worry who it comes from. It could even come from a frog. You know, normally we consider a frog to be an ugly creature. There are some people who scream and climb the table if they see a frog. So, what they're trying to say is that when wisdom comes, the teacher who gives the wisdom need not necessarily be a good-looking guy with a long nose and so on. The shape and the form is not important, the wisdom is important. So it could be a frog. You may look terrible. Ashtavakra is supposed to be bent in 8 places. So probably he was physically disabled. That doesn't mean he didn't have wisdom. So don't worry about the shape and the form from where the source comes. but listen to what is being said. One reason. In fact, in the Chandogya Upanishad, there's a beautiful scheme. When the rain comes, the frogs, you hear the frogs croaking. And in one part of Mandukya Upanishad, the frogs are not croaking, they're chanting the Upanishads. One reason. The second reason, the frog is unique in the sense that it goes through a metamorphosis in its life. First, it becomes a tadpole, and then it spends its life in the water. It has a tail, wriggles around in the water, and then it drops the tail. When a brahmachari becomes a sannyasi, he drops the tail. In the sense that then it becomes a frog, from a tadpole to a frog. Now what is the peculiar thing about a frog? It can live in water, it can also live in the land, on the land. It's an amphibian. So a great sage is one who is anchored in the spirit, but can also live in this world. The world is meaningless, we are always anchored in the spirit. You are always in a trance, so what? What about others? What happens to the world? So you can live in this earth and also in the spirit. So I think Mandukya is an apt description of the teacher here. Actually, it's very easy, for instance, for M to have really enjoyed himself in there. No need to come to UK, it's raining, suddenly the weather has changed. You happily be there, but then you should also learn to live here and still not lose your moorings. This is the frog. So, let's now come to the actual Mandukya. Forget about the frog. As I said, it had only 12. I don't know whether we can finish the Mandukya today, but even though it has only 12 verses, it is the core of the Upanishadic teaching. Now, the Mandukya, the first commentary is extant that we know of, was written by Gauravana. It said that he sat in Badrinath and wrote a commentary. It goes to about 1,000 pages. Don't bother about that, 1,000 pages. And then Adi Shankaracharya, who was his disciple's disciple, Govindapada's disciple, wrote thousands of pages of commentaries on Gaurapada's Karika. Commentaries. So you can imagine how important it is that everybody got obsessed with it. And 12 slokas only. So how does it start? It starts with a description of Om, the Pranava. Very important. You know that all mantras generally, except the Bijaksharas, start with Om. And Om is called Pranava because it gives life to the mantra, prana to the mantra. Om Bhurvuvasva Tat Savitravarinyam. Even the Gayatri. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namo Narayana. Even the Buddhists, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om. Now the Mandukya Upanishad starts with a description of Om. Now the normal description of Om which we find is that Om is split into 3 syllables. Sorry, we started off 3 syllables. A and O. Now you know this. I mean, normally Because is the first simple primary sound which even a dumb person can make. Even a little child can make. Is what the child usually babbles first. And a dumb person says, So it's the first sound. It's very interesting that in Sanskrit, the alphabet is called akshara. Akshara. In English it's called alphabet because it has alpha, beta. Alphabet. But in Sanskrit, akshara is the word used for alphabet. You look at the word akshara. Unfortunately, many of us miss the bus because this ancient language has been completely neglected. Now, akshara, any word in Sanskrit where you add an in the beginning negates the sound of what follows. Chara means destructible. Chara means that which can be destroyed, destructible. So when you add akshara, it means indestructible. So the word is indestructible because it is the first sound, the primeval sound. Simplest sound that anybody can make. So therefore, according to one school of thought, is the beginning of the universe, the beginning of creation, and therefore it's identified with the creator, Brahma. Then you have the sound U. This is the normal explanation. U. Now U, the sound is made to the middle of your tongue. U. U is preserving that which has been created, that which has been initiated. U. So that represents the preserver who mythologically is connected with Vishnu. Vishnu is supposed to be the symbol of that which when once created is sustained. Then you have the last sound, Ma, Om. Now you notice this, when I say Om, it's over. If I have to make a fresh sound, I have to open my mouth again. Can you say anything without opening your mouth again? So when you say Om, it's one end of a cycle. Create or initiate, preserve what has been initiated, and then end. So, it's been associated with Maheshwara or God of destruction. Now it is not really destruction, it's actually transformation. Imagine that all the things that have survived, remain forever, are still there. Where is the space for anything new? You will see lots of 200-year-old people walking around. You have to move. And then something new comes, which is again So this is the usual explanation of Om. Creating, preserving, destroying or transforming. That's what it is. The Mandukya Upanishad gives a new interpretation to Om. Mandukya says that the sound represents the waking state of consciousness, which we are all familiar with. Everybody knows what's waking state. I hope you are awake. It's common knowledge. You may be a man or a woman, a Hindu or a Muslim or a Christian, but we all know what is waking state. It's common to all humanity. Nobody can say, oh, I'm not awake. If you're not awake, then you're sleeping. So, the state of being aware of the physical world and the inner world, where the state of awakening, or not awakening, being awake, in Sanskrit it's called the Jagrata Avastha. Jagrat, which means awake. Now this is common to all living beings, and that is our. Then the sound of oo represents again something which is common to all of us. Yes, dream. The dream state. Not only the dreams at night, but also daydreaming. Yeah, we're sitting here awake, we might be daydreaming or something, building castles in the air. So, this is also common to all of us. The dream state, and it's called Swapna-avastha. It's also called Tejasa, which means that which is lit. The reason being that when you are asleep, you are in darkness, your eyes are closed. But when you have a dream, the dream is illumined. Without an external light, it's an internal light. You don't see dream in the darkness, right? You see the dream fully illumined. In a dream you might be in a big hall with hundreds of chandeliers. It's self-illumined, and therefore it's called Tejas. Okay. Now, Mandukya deals with dreams in the sense, suppose you are dreaming. While you are dreaming, while you are still dreaming, do you believe it's a dream, or do you believe it's a reality? Suppose a tiger is chasing you in the dream. You're running for your life. Even when you wake up, it's so real that your heart is still palpitating in your cell, because it's so real. So, when you're dreaming, you don't know it's a dream. It's a reality. When you wake up, you say, oh, that was a dream, good or bad. In the ancient stories, there is mention of how the great king the great king Janaka had a dream. He dreamt that he was a beggar. No food to eat, hungry, begging for food. Nobody is giving him food. And then he woke up. He was in his palace, in his luxurious bed, and he just clapped and all food would be served. But then a doubt entered his mind. What if this dream had stretched for a long time? Would I have been a beggar? So am I a beggar or am I a king? So, when his teacher, Yajnavalkya, reaches the palace, he asks him this question. So please explain to me, am I a beggar or am I a king? Because when I dreamt that I was a beggar, it was so real. I was hungry, I was pained, I was looking for food. Now I am awake and I feel, I'm a king. which is correct. What if this dream had stretched? Plus, how do I know that what I am saying is a waking state in which I am the king is not another dream? Maybe one day I will wake up and say, that was a long dream. So there's no belief set, there's no need to believe. These are facts that happen to all of us. So dream state is one that makes us understand that all the states are related. When you're dreaming, the waking state is unreal. When you're awake, then the dream state is unreal. So Yajnavalkya explains that none of these states are absolutely real, but comparatively real. Okay, now comes the third state, which is Om. When your mouth is shut, everything is over. This is symbolized or defined as deep, dreamless sleep. What happens in deep, dreamless sleep? You are not aware who you are, where you are, what you are. There is no dream. There is no outer cognition. There is no internal cognition. You're fast asleep. You know why you get rejuvenated when you are in deep sleep? Because you don't even know who you are. The moment I know who I am, there is no rest. I'm so and so, I went to a party, nobody recognized me. I thought I was a great man, somebody said you're a bloody fool. Waking state. But in deep sleep, you don't even know what's happening. You're unconscious. And therefore, you get rejuvenated. You know, when you're sick and you're convalescing, the doctor says, sleep. If you can't sleep, he'll give you a tablet to sleep. Because in sleep, the healing process takes place in the physical body. Because you're not aware what's happening. So deep sleep is that in which everything comes to a standstill. And that state is called Shushupti. Shushupti is deep sleep, where you don't even know that you're sleeping actually. And you wake up, of course, you say, I had a beautiful sleep. But what one should remember, one should note, is that while in deep sleep you are not aware of it, when I wake up, I always say, I had a blissful sleep. So which means there was some element which is aware of it. Not at that moment, but when I wake up, I know that I had been blissful sleep. There was an entity looking at it. Okay. Now when you chant Om, you don't say Om. You say Om. So there is a reverberation after you have said the Ma, and that's called in the Sanskrit the Ardha Matra. See, you'll find a crescent-like thing with a dot in the middle, which is the Ardha Matra, which means unsaid, unheard sound. If you think that when you ring a bell, and after some time the bell stops ringing, you're completely mistaken. No sound that is made ever ends. It so happens that the frequency of it is such that your ear cannot detect it. all the sounds that have been made from eternity are still here. If your frequency is good, you can still hear it going on. But because our frequency of the hearing instrument is limited, we don't hear it. So that state, which is the ardhamatra, which can't be heard normally, the Upanishad calls Turiya. Turiya is that which is a witness to all the states, but is not caught up by any of these states. The only way you can describe it is that in the bliss of deep sleep, there is an awareness of that bliss. It's not possible when you sleep. Let me also explain that you cannot reach Turiya by continuing to sleep. That would have been nice. But this is just to illustrate that there is a state which is akin or close to deep sleep, but there is also the awareness of the complete bliss that is experienced. This is Turiya. So Mandukya Upanishad describes Om as a waking state, the dream state, the deep sleep state, and the Turiya, which is a witness of all the states that's going on, but is not involved in any of these states. And the Upanishad says that is your true identity. That witness which is aware of everything and is not caught up by any is the essence of your being. Now, we would say this is just theory. It's not theory. It's an experience that we all have. Please resist the temptation of asking a question before we finish. Now, if that is so, is there a way to touch that? Upanishad, the Mandukya says, use your mind as the bow. Use your one-pointed attention as the arrow. The energy you require to pull an arrow is Om. Chant Om, the Pranava, and hit the target, which is your true idea. Now, among the Zen teachings, there's a lot of stress laid on archery, not to kill somebody. What happens in archery? You have a bow, you have an arrow, you have an expert who can shoot the target. So how do you do that? You pull the string taut. Your attention is on the point of the arrow, the target, and on the complete attention of pulling the string. Right. Now if you have to hit the target, can you hit the target if you still keep holding it? Or do you need to let go? Can you hit the target if you still hold it? Everything is in one line. Your eyes, your target, the point of the arrow, the tautness of the skin, of the string, everything is okay. But if you have to let the arrow hit the target, you have to release. So, the Upanishad said, Tena tyaktena punjita, let go and rejoice. But for letting go, first you need to make it taut. So the entire sadhana is to aim Om at the target with complete attention, and then finally let go. If you don't let go, you still be holding that. You will not hit the target. Target, which is correct. Target. This is the teaching of the Mandukya Upanishad. So therefore the Ishavasya Upanishad says, the supreme all-pervading consciousness can be touched if you developed the capacity to let go. Which means complete effortlessness. For that, before that, you need to have complete effort. It's a little bit subtle to understand. If you do that, then you have attained that which the Mandukya aims. What is that? That which is all-pervading, which by nature is blissful and tranquil, which is not far away. In fact, the Upanishad says, Tad Turiya, Tat Vazantike, it's far and yet it's so near. It sounds like a contradiction. You can't have something that's far and near. See what happens? Suppose I have a goal here to reach there, and I am here, and I am moving towards it. This is a normal goal, so achieving. What if that which you aim is there everywhere? How do you go there? You see, suppose you are there. I want to come towards you. There is a distance, linear. I have to move from here and go. What if you are here? How do I go there? I don't need to go there because you are already here. Which means that the technique is that when the mind stops grasping or moving and settles down quietly, then it touches that which is our true essence. This is what the Upanishad means by Tena Tyaktena Punjita. Let go and rejoice. Even in ordinary things, if you can let go all the wounds and sorrows and insults that you had all your life, half your life will be blissful. But we'll never let it go. Now have it. Suppose you have hurt me 25 years ago. Suppose you slapped me. 25, did you? No. 25 years ago, you slapped me. Now, just think of this practically. How long does a slap actually last? Let's forget metaphysics. How long? 10 minutes? 15 minutes? If it was so strong that your tooth flew off, maybe a month before the dentist put it back. Beyond that, it really does not exist. But will I let it go? No. I have this vicious habit of keeping it going on in my mind like a game, saying, he hurt me, he slapped me, he slapped me. 25 years later, I want to go back and slap him. We are asking, can we let go of this? It's over. Physically it doesn't exist. It's just a tape playing in your head. Can we understand this and say it's enough? Throw it out of the window. When you go to sleep, sleep is like a mini death. Can we wake up in the morning, newborn? Can we see a fresh day? Why do we hang on to what happened yesterday? So, if we can do that, then the mind becomes absolutely tranquil. We don't carry muck for thousands of years. In fact, I'm just talking about this life, but we carry muck for 1,000 lives. Yes. Can we let go and say, this is a new life, it's fresh, and just keep quiet. This kind of is the essence of the Mandukya. It applies to all of us because waking state, dream state, deep sleep and Turiya are actually common to all of us, to all humanity. So, now I rest my case. It's up to the jury. I knew you would ask me something. I was very seriously thinking of how to find a chink in the armor of my discourse.
I was listening to everything very carefully. I just want to know what's the best way to chant Om, because there's so many different ways people do it. Some really loud.
I was waiting for you to ask this question.
It's a proper way like we should be chanting. Thank you.
Okay. And there are two ways of chanting Om. Now please, first of all, don't consider Om as a denominational thing. It has nothing to do with religion, nothing to do with culture. It's a sound. It's a sound. And this is a sound which is kind of primary. I'll tell you why, because from childhood, when you start saying till the time when you're old and sick and in the hospital, and when you're recovering from a pain, you keep saying, last part of Om. It's intimately connected to our life. So how to chant? Two ways. One is chant a long Om, like oh, start with the oh. The other is chant with more stress on the last syllable, which is Om. We did the Brahmari yesterday. Right. Now what happens is, when you chant Om in a long way, like Om, it brings about a certain change, not only in yourself, but in all that surrounds you, including the human beings, which is of course important. But when you chant Om short, with more stress on Ma, it brings about a change in your inner side. So you need to do both. First chant Om, long Om. Then chant Om with more stress on the And when you chant with more stress on then the vibration inside your system brings about some changes. And those centers in your psyche, which are latent, kind of become active, kinetic. So both are two ways. One is Om, the other is Om. it to this young lady. She's putting up her hands for the third time.
Sorry, this may sound like a slightly silly question, but you mentioned this state of Turiya, which is...
There are no silly questions.
The state of Turiya, which you said, is a blissful state. I've also heard that some people say it can be a frightening state, where there is no sense of body, no sense of mind. Can it ever be frightening?
No. No, it depends on how you look at it. If you think you're safe with the sense of the body and your identity, and you think this is the best way to be happy and cozy and comfortable, Turiya breaks that up. But anyone who has touched it knows that it is much more blissful, enjoyable than this little personality that we possess. But there is this fear that I might lose myself. When you lose yourself, you gain much more. And if it's really Turiya, that you have touched Turiya, then it's not as if you go into Turiya and come out of Turiya. Once in Turiya or always in Turiya, whatever you're doing. In fact, it takes a great deal of effort to not be in it. You feel, that's so futile, why am I doing all this? But then there is the feeling of compassion which says, no, share it.
What are you actually aware of in Turiya? Does this world disappear?
You have to go into Turiya. But let me put it this way. It's a wide canvas. It's not a small little thing. You see everything as one whole, WHOLE whole. And there is no difference between you and me.
It's just Samadhi state.
No, it's Samadhi. There is this question of going into Samadhi and coming out of Samadhi. When you say Turiya, there is no going in or coming out. Well, you can call it Sahaja. And please understand, by touching that which is Turiya, you can touch it only when you really want to do it. There's an intense desire to do it. When you're ready to do anything for it. But when you touch it, don't worry, you will not lose your hair. You will not lose your physical beauty. In fact, maybe if you go more and more to Turiya, your whole sense, body will be so relaxed that you might do away with your glasses, I don't know.
Can I just ask an additional question linked to that? Can you accidentally go into Samadhi? Can people accidentally end up in it and be frightened or not?
You may accidentally go into a state of temporary Samadhi, which can happen spontaneously sometimes when your emotions are heightened. But then that, always you have to come back. Go on a high and then when you fall down it's quite low. And then you begin to say, I must go back there. It was so wonderful.
And that is also not frightening.
You know something? If it is frightening, don't run away from it, face it. The only way to get free of fear is to come face to face with it, not hide it or hide from it.
Okay, thank you.
You're saying that?
Just a thought, you was talking about letting go. If one is surrounded by constant negativity, how do you deal with that? Is it from within or are you sharing it?
Can you explain what negativity is?
Negative thoughts, constant criticism.
From outside or inside?
Mainly from outside, but I'm sure there's an element of inside which is just perceiving that.
So?
Obviously from inside then. But then...
You know what? I understand what you're talking. When you embark upon a spiritual journey, seriously, there is every chance that there will be negative thoughts from others, discouragement, even ridicule. Because the reason is, everybody is swimming with the stream as it goes. And there are one or two individuals, rare individuals, who stand up and say, I want to swim against the stream. So naturally there will be resistance, there will be negativity. But if your attention is fully on that, then you will be able to storm through. If you can't, that means you're not still so intense. Build up that intensity so that you care two hoots for the negativity. That's the only way. I'm not saying that you should tell somebody, but in your mind. Sometimes it's nice to keep quiet and say, yeah, you're right. But deep down you should know it's not so. You don't have to confront, especially if you're married, you need a and confrontation is not such a good idea, because then your life might become miserable. You should say, okay, you're also right, but this is what I want. Be kind.
Thank you.
Yeah. A man has to get a chance.
When you said you should apply force to the with the bow and arrow and let go, how do we do that? Apply force and let go.
It's like this. Give complete attention to your search. Give complete attention to one-pointedness of finding out what you want to figure out. But at some point you will find that you're too stressed because at that point, hands off, let go. Just be, B-E-B. Instead of trying to do something. Anyway you can't do it. So when you understand that all that we do is a circus, say none of this is going to work, and say that's what I mean by let go. Then you release the string. But to release the string you need to first stretch it right.
Does it mean we stretch it with the circus we are?
Yes, of course.
So circus is important.
It is. We are in a circus anyway. Yeah. I'm doing a circus. That's very interesting. And the last talk of Jiddu Krishnamurti, I'm not a Krishnamurtite, in Vasant Vihar, after the talk was over, nobody was getting up to go. Everybody was sitting very peacefully. Nobody is getting up, so he tried. Then he said, "Sir, please go home, the circus is over." He never came back, of course, he died. But what I meant to say is, if you look at it in one way, it's very enjoyable, it's a circus. But don't get caught up in that circus, that's what I mean. It is a circus, it's so enjoyable. You see all kinds of people. Life is there is so much variety in life that you begin to appreciate the unity in the diversity. You don't cut off. And most important, don't think that everybody should follow what you follow. This is very important, then it's miserable. I think that I'm right, okay fine, you may be right, but the other person need not think that you are right. So if you let go of that and say, it doesn't matter what the other person thinks, this is what I think, let me move forward. Then you are free of half your burdens. Even today, I think I've touched something, but I don't think that others are wrong or right or anything. Somebody must be enjoying, somebody must have found freedom in sitting in the bar. I don't understand what he's doing. It doesn't mean that I can blame that person. He's probably there because he has no other way to break his mind. So what should be my job? To make him understand, so that he's free of the chemical addiction. To put it in a nutshell, nobody is bad. Nobody is bad. The moment you look at this concept clearly, half your problem is over actually. All are good people. What? They're covered with various layers. You can't penetrate and see the goodness inside. But if you have touched the core, then you see only that. I'm a married man, so I can't.
Guruji, I wanted to ask you about fluctuating extremes in terms of states of mind. For instance, one day, for no reason, it's unbidden and I'm soaked in tears of ecstasy and, devotion and everything, and the next day, for no particular reason, I'm just down in the dumps, and it's coming from somewhere. I'm not inducing it, it's happening. Who is in charge? How do I...
Of course you're not in charge, it's very clear. So now the thing is to take charge. Take charge. You should say that these are different states of mind. Some days like this, some days like this. The nature of the mind is to go up and down. It's the nature of the mind. It's nothing extraordinary. One day it's up, one day it's down. This is the nature of the mind. So, start watching the mind to figure out why sometimes it is up and why sometimes it is down. Only you can figure it out. I can't tell you. Which means what? Which means not only when you sit for meditation, but in your daily life, as you interact with people, carefully watch what you're doing, how you're interacting, and your state of mind is dependent on the experiences you get through interaction. carefully. When you say mindfulness, it actually means not just sitting down and watching your breath. Mindfulness is to be mindful of every action and thought in your daily life. If you can develop this mindfulness, I don't have to tell you. You will figure out why sometimes it is low and why sometimes it is high. It depends on various factors that influence the mind. You may not even notice it. But then the mind has to become sensitive enough to notice. How? Through training, through practice. That is also meditation. You have a strange idea about meditation. They think meditation means. Meditation means the meditative state of mind is to be aware of every single movement of our thought. So once you start looking at that, then you will be able to solve your problem. I'm deliberately, I can solve your problem with one shot. That's not a solution. It will come back after some time. I know great yogis who have solved this problem by actually physically getting up and giving one shot. Even the Zen masters. Because it shakes the system. But that's not a permanent solution. A permanent solution has to come from inside. So all I'm suggesting, all I'm asking you to do is to be very sensitive to your mind and see how it reacts with you. Watch it carefully.
Can we help ourselves to get rid of worldly desires? I mean, not only big things, small things. Like, very simple example, if I read a good book or watch a movie, I want to possess that book or movie DVD in my home. That enjoying is not enough. I need to grab it or keep it in my possession. So
that's the crux of the problem. It's not that enjoying something is not the problem. The problem is when I want to pluck it and put it in my pocket. See, there are beautiful flowers in the garden. No harm in enjoying. The moment you think I must snip it and put it in my pocket and own it, the problem starts. So you should understand this. There are many beautiful people in this world. There's no harm in looking at them and enjoying them. The moment I say, I want this person, finish. All hell breaks loose. So it's not keeping your eyes open and enjoying, but it's the possession that's important. So you have to note this carefully. I'll give you an example. There was this great dramatist. You all know, many people know, George Bernard Shaw. He was Irish, of course. So when a journalist visited George Bernard Shaw, she had heard that he loved flowers. But inside the house, there was not a single vase with any flowers on any table. So she commented on that. I thought you were fond of, I don't see any here. So he opened the window, he said, look, in the garden, plenty of flowers. Right? I love flowers. I also love children. Don't cut their heads and put them on. So, to like and to enjoy something is different from wanting to possess it. The problem comes with the possession of it. thought, figure out. I don't want to give you a solution, I want to think for yourself.
Shreya, right at the back. I just wanted to understand, because on the one side we want equanimity, we don't want to go after desire, we don't want to coil when there's something bad happening. But then in the spiritual journey, we are trying to go after bliss. Isn't that part of a problem? I'm kind of confused.
There is no human being who doesn't desire for something. If a human being doesn't desire for happiness, then there must be something wrong with him. Everybody desires happiness. And therefore the desire for spiritual fulfillment is to find out the aim of that desire, which when found, no more desires are left. There is no contradiction in this. Every human being desires happiness, no question. But which happiness do we seek? That which is lasting or that which is temporary? So when you touch that, then you don't have just little desires, and so therefore you're free. You have achieved that which we keep seeking in different things. And it is that which we seek, actually, which is responsible for our seeking other things. We think we can find completeness and happiness by having a new pen, or having a new girlfriend, or having a new car. And then after some time you get tired, you want a new girlfriend that is finished, old. Keeps on moving. This is because we are seeking that which is permanent. So when you find that in the spiritual search, that which is permanent, then other things become unimportant. There is no contradiction in this. You can desire moksha, don't worry.
Pranam Guruji, I have an academic question. I'm here at the back as well. Behind the camera, sorry.
Yes.
He had talked about Turiya, the state of Turiya. I heard about another term, just wanted to understand. It's called Turiyatheetha or Turiyatheetha. I'm not sure if it's another state or extreme form of Turiya.
Extreme form. Now, when you say Turiyatheetha, it means a person has touched Turiya and therefore doesn't consider Turiya to be an idea anymore. That's called Turiyatheetha. Not that there is a state when you are beyond Turiya. It's when you have touched Turiya and you no longer want a definition for it. This is called Turiyatheetha. It is a technical question, of course. But it doesn't matter. First aim for Turiya before you can become Theta.
Namaste Guruji. Oh, I'm here. Could you please explain about karma? Because I think, sometimes I wonder if it's something that has been said to put fear in our minds.
Yes.
So that we don't do anything wrong.
Undoubtedly, yes.
Yeah. So does it really exist? And so if it did, why do children, for example, in Syria, they're born and they have to suffer? That's not fair. It's not a way of getting back. So what's the meaning of
No,
that?
there are two ways of looking at it. You can say it's all an accident. Then there is no need of an explanation. You ask for a theoretical explanation. However, if you say karma exists or not, please look at the meaning of the word karma. What is the meaning of karma? Action. Right? So what the theory of karma says is that if there is a result, there has to be a cause. You can't have any result without a cause. whether you know the cause or not. There has to be a cause. Now, the crux of the theory of karma is not what happened in the past, but what is happening to us now. You see, what happened in the past, we can't go back and tinker with. Can we? Can we? No. So as we are, what we are facing today, that is the most important part of the karmic theory. So that if you do the right thing now, you probably will escape the bad effects of the action tomorrow. So actually, according to karma, your life is in your hands. It's not that you are helpless. What you do today will decide tomorrow, and today is the only thing we have with us. We can't go back and tinker with the past. We can't do anything about the future because it's not here. Where is it? All that we have is now. So can we act responsibly now so that your future is assured? This is the meaning of karma. And some children are born, we have a spastic society in Bangalore where they look after these children who are in different stages, being born in different ways. Let's say differently abled. Now, the parents probably suffer more than the kids because the children don't have any idea what's happening. I'm saying that it is an opportunity provided for the parents to grow. It's painful, of course, I understand, but then pain is the one that makes us look around. We're always eating lollipops, we don't look around. So it's futile to tell them, oh, your children have done terrible karma, so they're suffering. It's so cruel to say that to parents. I've been there, I've got taught. They said they invited a man whom they thought was a great scholar. They invited him there and he started by saying, oh, these children have done such terrible karmas that they're suffering, and in the next birth they'll be born as lizards. And then he said, the parents have done worse karmas, which is why they ended up with these children. And there was crying and shouting. And after 10 minutes, the director had to intervene and say, please shut up and go back to the Gayatri. So, when you have a child who is like not normal, it's our duty to look after the child and serve the child as if it's a divine sign given to you to change your life. I am very fond of them. I go there, some of them are unpretentious, We have many pretensions, we can pretend, they're just open. Once I went to have a dinner at a house where there is a boy who suffered from that syndrome. What is that syndrome of that boy who was autistic? Autistic child. Autistic.
Asperger's syndrome.
What?
Asperger's.
The common word is autistic. And this boy is very fond of me. And I am very fond of him, but he's autistic. So while we were eating, they had kept a lot of mixture. In India we have this mixture, like cornflakes. Suddenly, he picked up something and threw it on my head. And the parents and grandparents were so offended. They were so upset. I said, hold on. Ask him why he did that. You know what he said? He said, he's a god, I was putting flowers in his head. You don't understand? So, we need a sensitive mind to understand this. They're really free guys. Somehow the brains and the bodies don't coordinate. And if you really look after them, you'll find that they have talents like music and so on, which can be utilized to keep them going. They could turn up into geniuses also. There is a syndrome called I don't know, I'm not much of a psychologist.
Satsang, what is it?
No, not this. Huh?
What is it?
Not autism.
Dyslexia?
They're called
Asperger's? Savants.
savants.
Yeah.
What is the full?
Savant.
What's savant?
This is a idiot syndrome.
There's some name for that. Idiots, savants. They are people who, from the normal point of view, look like idiots. But some of them are geniuses in music, for instance. And they have not been taught music. They can play Beethoven for you. Because since one part of the brain is deteriorated, the other part has expanded. Centers which we normally not functional have become functional. Which is why even some spiritually advanced people are actually kind of in some syndrome. Like avdutas. You think they got crazy. They are crazy, but in a different way. They are normal. So therefore it's futile to imitate and become like them. It's not possible if you are normal. I think there are techniques by which you can be made abnormal. So don't worry, we are not going.
Namaste Swamiji. Maybe it is a very silly question, but
no silly questions.
Yeah, thank you. Since last few years, I hear some kind of. It is somewhat similar to Omkara sound. Whenever it is very silent, I hear something like that, and I wonder if it is something normal or is it something problem with my ears.
One side or both?
It is both actually.
So, let me explain. There is a yogic phenomenon called listening to the anahat nad. That means sound that comes from inside, not from outside. However, what I would suggest is first go to a ENT specialist. No, I'm not trying to make fun of you. Go to an ENT specialist and rule out it's a possibility of a disease called tinnitus. Tinnitus, where you hear sounds. Tinnitus. Where you hear was are you a EMT man? GP. So, you see, if that is ruled out and you still continue to hear, then just listen to it with complete attention. It's a great sadhana. One thing, does it disturb you? Does the sound disturb you? No. It's pleasant. Does it get very loud sometimes and you wish it's not there?
No, it is continuously, it is same, very slow.
Can I ask you, is it like the sound of the cicadas on a silent night?
Sound of the?
Cicadas, crickets.
It is not chick, it is continuous but somewhat similar, like it is continuous. It is not even Omkara the way we utter it, but it is somewhat...
Okay, I have two suggestions. One is check with the ENT.
Yes.
One. Second is, even while you're doing that, try to listen to it with complete attention, without trying to avoid, and see what happens, where it takes you. Then you can work on this. In fact, in the Nath Sampradaya, there is a section of yoga called Shabda Yoga, in which actually one tries to listen to the sound. So it could be, I can't figure out what you're hearing. So you need to work on this. And even if the ENT says it's a problem, and if you enjoy it, enjoy it. It might take you to deeper layers of your consciousness. Because what happens when you're completely listening to the sound, everything else disappears. And who knows, one day you might be listening and it will change to the sound of the flute. Who knows? Right?
Thank you so much.
This is a question that a colleague of mine has a problem. He's a crew member of an airline, and he does the practice. He's been initiated by you.
What's his name?
Satish Rupani.
Satish?
Rupani.
Okay.
And he, after the practice, does the practice of yoga nidra.
Yoga.
And he said, Vasu, when I practice yoga nidra afterwards, I have an extremely uncomfortable feeling in my chest. But if I do yoga nidra as a standalone practice, then it's okay. And he uses this practice to get over jet lag because he flies quite a lot. So he wonders if there needs to be a time gap.
Yes, there has to be time.
After the...
You do the kriya. He should do the kriya. I know who you're talking about. He should do a kriya. And then later on, he should give at least an hour's gap to do the yoga nidra and not follow it up immediately. We'll be able to get out of it.
1 hour's gap.
Yeah, please tell him this.
Okay. Because this is similar to what I experienced with my not able to shake my body or not breathe.
That's why I told you yesterday,
Yes.
separate the times of practice. Don't mix them up. Because yoga nidra is actually meant to become like that. And don't mix it up with kriya. It's a good practice, of course. Yogic practice. In fact, I do yoga nidra very often. I have also learned how to do yoga nidra while talking. So, one part of them I happily sleep, So, oh my God! Now you have asked me a terrible, I'm sorry, very serious question. She said, how do I demolish this I which is in me? I am. Normally we have only one I, but I knew someone whose name was I Kuttappa. So anyway, shouldn't say lay any aspersions on people who died. The I. Now the I is the biggest problem. How to get rid of it is not so easy. If you get rid of it, then you don't need to do any sadhana whatsoever. It's finished. You're free. When I'm saying I, you're talking about you as a personality, right? I, not the I.
No.
Not the I of the I, not this I here. So now that is the biggest problem. Now I'm going to tell you a story, okay? We'll stop this session after the story. Have a cup of tea, I'm going into yoga nidra. There was this man who was a great sculptor. You know what's a sculptor? One who makes images, sculptures. So he was one day summoned to a temple to make an image of a deity, one of the deities in the temple. So he went. Now the priest happened to be someone who could foresee the future. So he told him, nowadays there are such rare priests, but anyway, so he told him that after 3 months you're going to die. So the man said, what is this? What is the meaning of this? You are the priest of the temple, you have a highway with God connection. So So tell me how to get rid of it, how to get out of this. You're saying you're going to die in 3 months. How do I get out of it? Give me a solution. He said, yeah, there's a very simple practical solution. What's that? He said, there's still 3 months. So go back to your workshop. Okay? Pain. Go back to your... I had pain in my right shoulder yesterday. Guess why? Tensing. Just put a little Ilex and I'm okay today. Anyway, so he said, go back to your workshop. You have such a good sculpture. Make 3 more images just like you. Duplicates. You know, when the death time approaches, according to the Indian tradition, Yama sends his messengers to take the soul, the Yamadutas. So the Yamadutas will come. And you, after making 2-3 duplicates, go and stand in the middle, in the same posture as the duplicates. You know, these messengers of Yama, they're a little weak in the head. They come on buffaloes and so on. So, Yamadutas. So, they won't be able to recognize which is original and which is duplicate. Because you're such a good cook. You just stand there. And once the muhurta, the time is passed, then they cannot take the soul. So he said, okay. So he went, made 2-3 more duplicates, and when the time came, and he thought the time came, he stood in the middle, same posture. This is usual Swami Vivekananda postures. And then the Yamadutas came, the messengers. They couldn't make out which is duplicate, which is original. So they were just trying to figure out when the time was past. So they couldn't take this soul, so they went back. And they went and reported to their chief, to the boss, Yamadeva, Lord of Death. Sir, sorry, we couldn't do it because this fellow did a trick. He made duplicates and we didn't know which is real and which is, so we had to come over till the time was past. So Yama said, don't worry. In another 6 months he's going to die again. His time is coming. But before you go, please talk to me. I will give you a secret mantra in your ears. Go with that, armed with that. So the priest again told him, you're going to die in 6 months. He said, what to do? He said, do the same thing. Now you don't even have to make because you already made. So at that point, go and stand there in the middle. Same thing will happen. The Yamadutas cannot find out what is real and what is not real. Duplicate. Now while the Yamadutas were leaving Yama, they asked, what is this mantra? You said you'll give us some. Yeah, he whispered something. They said, okay, we got it. So they went there. Same thing. They really couldn't make out which is duplicate, which is duplicate. So what they did was, as Emma advised them, they said, so beautiful. What a wonderful thing. The skin is so much like real. And the hair, it's like just like human hair. It's so real. Such a wonderful sculpture. And even you feel as if the breath can fall on your finger when you keep it near the eyes. So we can't make out which is which. So this man waited till that much. When he came there, he couldn't control himself. He said, I made it. So it's the eye. If it's not there, you can even save yourself. So the eye, you have to watch it carefully. You see, you need an eye to function in this world. No question. But watch that it doesn't outgrow your control and become so large, larger than life, that it interferes with everything that it is. There is no shortcut for this. Somebody asked, what is the shortest cut to spiritual enlightenment? Somebody said, the shortest cut is to cut the ego into two. You can't do it. It's not easy. You have to watch. Whenever it comes to the fore, you have to say, hey, watch out, what are you doing? And it's a gradual process, it can't be done in one day. There is no harm, you actually cannot survive without any ego, right? But make sure that it doesn't go out of bounds. Watch carefully. If something is beautiful, who cares whether you are responsible for it or somebody else? It's beautiful. Right? Am I kinder or is my husband kinder? What is the point? Kindness is all that matters. So. Okay, this is the last story. It's 11:15. Even I'm looking forward to a cup of tea. So after that we can resume.